Good morning, students. Yesterday we studied about the determinants of demand or factors affecting demand. The main factor which affects the demand of the commodity is the price of the commodity. Price and demand of the commodity are inversely associated and move in the opposite direction. If the price of the commodity rises, the demand of the commodity will fall. If the price of the commodity falls, demand of the commodity will rise. Now, today we are going to study about the demand schedule. The tabular representation showing the law of demand is called demand schedule. It shows the various levels of quantity demanded at the different level of prices in a tabular form. Now, you just see the demand schedule. Px is price of the X commodity. DDY is demand of the commodity. At price of rupees 4, 100 units of commodity demanded. At price of rupees 5, 80 units of the commodity are demanded. At price of rupees 6, 60 units of a commodity demanded. At price of rupees 7, 40 units of a commodity are demanded. At price of rupees 8, 80 units of a commodity are demanded. In this demand schedule, you can clearly see as the price of the commodity rises, the demand of that particular commodity falls. This is how the relationship is there between the price of the commodity and demand of the commodity. Demand curve. The graphical representation showing demand schedule is called demand curve. It shows the various levels of quantity demanded at different levels of price in a given period of time. You can just see that on x-axis quantity is plotted and on y-axis price is plotted, and the demand curve is negatively sloped due to the inverse relationship between the price of the commodity and the demand of the commodity. Now we are going to talk about market demand. The aggregate demand made by all the consumers of a commodity at a given price in a given period of time is called market demand. Market demand is equal to sigma individual demand. Market demand schedule. It shows the various level of quantity demanded made by all the consumers of a commodity in the tabular form during a given period of time is known as market demand schedule. I repeat it. It shows the various levels of quantity demanded used by all the consumers of a commodity in a given period of time in the tabular form is known as market demand schedule. Now this is market demand schedule. Px is price of the commodity X. DDA is demand curve of consumer A. DDB is demand curve of consumer B. DDC is demand curve of consumer C. Market demand is A plus B plus C. At price 4 rupees, consumer A demands 100 units of commodity. Consumer B demands 200 units of a commodity. Consumer C demands 500 units of a commodity, and the market demand is rupees 800 units. At rupees 5 price, consumer A demands 80 units of the commodity. Consumer B demands 180 units of commodity, and consumer C demands 400 units of commodity, and market demand will be 600 units of commodity. Question: the following information related to consumer A, B and C at the various level of price of X commodity given below. You have to fill in the above blanks. Suppose the consumer A quits the market, then find out market demand schedule. Suppose Mr. A remains in the market and new consumer Mr. D joins the market and demand half of consumer C. Find out the new demand schedule. Market demand curve. The horizontal summing up of individual demand is known as market demand curve. It shows the various levels of quantity demanded made by all the consumers of a commodity at a different level of price graphically. On x-axis, quantity demanded is plotted, and on y-axis, price of the commodity is plotted. At one particular price, consumer A demands 50 units of the commodity. Consumer B demands 100 units of the commodity, and consumer C demands 150 units of the commodity, and the market demand is 300 units. Law of demand. It is based on the certain assumptions of. If these assumptions are fulfilled in the economy, then law of demand states that price and quantity demanded are inversely associated and move in the opposite direction. It means if other factors remains constant, or it is known as ceteris paribus in economics, then with the rise in the price of the commodity, the demand of the commodity will fall, and vice versa. It is so because price of the commodity rises, then purchasing power or real income of the consumer will fall. With that, the quantity demanded will also fall, and vice versa. In short, if other things remains constant, ceteris paribus, then the law of demand states that with the rise in the price of the commodity, the quantity demanded of the commodity will fall, and vice versa. Here ceteris paribus means price of the related goods, that is substitute goods and complementary goods remains constant, income of the consumer remains constant, taste and preference of the consumer will not change. Here is demand schedule given showing law of demand. Price of good X in rupees and demand of good X in units. At rupees 4, the demand of the commodity is 100 unit. At rupees 5, demand of the commodity is 80 units. At rupees 6, demand of the commodity is 60 units. At rupees 7, demand of the commodity is 40 units. And at rupees 8, demand of the commodity is 20 units. Demand curve showing the law of demand. On x-axis, quantity demanded is plotted, and on y-axis, price of the commodity is plotted. And when we graphically plot the demand schedule on the curve, it is known as demand curve, which shows the law of demand. It is downward sloping. It is so because of the inverse relationship between the price of the commodity and the demand of the commodity. Some questions are given here. Explain law of demand with schedule and diagram. Second is how the factors affecting demand considered while studying law of demand. And third is state law of demand. Today we are going to do this much only in this class, in which we have studied about the demand schedule, individual demand schedule, demand curve, individual demand curve, market demand schedule, market demand curve, law of demand. Today's class we will do this much. Thank you.